Hello paddlers! I'm in Cedarburg, Wisconsin today. Cedarburg is about 25 miles north of downtown Milwaukee in Ozaukee County. Cedarburg is known for its historic downtown with boutique shops and restaurants and their 3 very popular annual festivals. I'm standing on the banks of Cedar Creek, and what you can see behind me here is the last covered bridge in the state of Wisconsin. It was constructed in 1876 in the lattice truss style. It was in operation for 85 years before they voted to put it on the National Register of Historic Places. But I'm not here today to talk about history of Wisconsin bridges. I'm going to do something a little bit different today and do a product review. I did something I thought I would never do, and I purchased an inflatable kayak. Now, I'm going to approach this review with a really open mind because I admittedly consider myself a little bit of an equipment snob, but there's just going to be times in life where you cannot take a traditional kayak with you. You're traveling someone else's vehicle, bus, you're flying somewhere. Traditional kayaks just are not going to be an option. Sure, you could rent a boat once you get to your destination, but my experience with rental equipment is that the boats are usually crap. You have to abide by their hours of business and obviously their location. I consider myself a little bit more of a free-range paddler than to operate within those constraints. So there's certainly going to be times where a portable kayak, whether it be a collapsible or an inflatable kayak, is just your only option. So today I'm going to try this Advanced Elements inflatable kayak and let you know what I think. "37 empty park benches empty in this park, and Stadler and Waldorf had to come sit on my picnic table and not stop talking." So much for my assembly video. Note that I don't have any connection with Advanced Elements. This particular model I just picked out because I found a great deal on one gently used on Marketplace. And if I say anything a little bit negative or snobbish, just know that I'm used to a traditional kayak and some really nice ones. So I'm going to keep an open mind and let's see what it does. Okay, well, I'm in. First thought, make sure you adjust the seat appropriately before you get on the water. That was a little bit challenging once I'm on the water. The seat is very comfortable. Mind you, I've been in it for all of 2 minutes, but once I'm adjusted, the seat is really comfy. I'm sitting way lower in this thing than I am in a traditional kayak, and I notice in the first 60 seconds that my arms are a lot higher when paddling. And if you are more of a high angle paddler, this might not be a good boat. Let's talk about tracking, or the absolute lack of. I'm going to have to point the camera forward to show you this. Nothing against Advanced Elements. They probably all track like this, but they track like absolute horseshit. I mean, look how inefficient this is. I'm going back and forth, and I'm kind of being a low angle paddler right now. If I were a high angle paddler, it's significantly worse. Keep in mind, I'm used to using a boat with a rudder, and even a traditional kayak without a rudder doesn't seem efficient enough to me because you're losing a lot of your energy not propelling forward, and you're going like this, back and forth and back and forth. I think maybe a taller paddler wouldn't mind sitting so low in the boat, but for me, this is, the top of the boat is coming up to here on me, and lifting my arms up that high for even a very low angle stroke, I think would get really tiring after a short distance. I've got dragonflies on my head, I can feel them. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say that it just met my low expectations, and unfortunately it didn't exceed them. I really wanted it to. I really kind of feel like I'm just in a really expensive pool toy. Nothing against Advanced Elements. I'm guessing that most inflatables of a comparable size are going to respond similarly. So you must be thinking, gosh, there must be some positives to an inflatable kayak. And there are. Obviously, we've already talked about the portability. I'm really comfy. And I'm going to have to think really hard about another positive. Give me a minute. Affordable, that's it, they're affordable. This one retails new, I want to say, for, I don't know, somewhere $500 or $600. The inefficiency of these strokes is killing me. So I guess that would be another advantage. If you are a floater more than a paddler, this might be a good option for you. I feel silly in this thing. I almost have a hard time calling it a kayak. I would call it a pointy raft. It's kind of unfair for me to compare this to my everyday boat. It's just apples and oranges. If you have back issues and sitting in a traditional kayak is just not enough support for you, this might be a good option for you. It just doesn't feel ergonomically correct for someone my size. And maybe this wouldn't be an issue for somebody that was taller or with a longer torso. So I paddled this inflatable about 1.5 miles. Any boat this short is not going to track as straight as a traditional kayak, particularly what I'm used to is one with a rudder. Going any kind of distance is going to take you a really long time. Again, that's not because it's an inflatable, it's because it's so short and so wide. On the positive side, I am comfy. Like, the water I'm paddling is very, very shallow right now. I feel that a traditional boat, because it has a rigid bottom, it doesn't require as much of a depth. All my weight is, you know, pushing down in the middle of the boat, so my butt, I'm assuming, is making the bottom of the boat dip somewhat. And I think that requires just a little bit more depth if you're in a really shallow creek. I just don't paddle shallow creeks, so that'd probably be a non-issue for me, but something to be aware of. I'm on Cedar Creek the Sunday of 4th of July weekend. The 4th is Tuesday, so I guess it's not technically a holiday weekend unless you have the luxury of being off on Monday, which I don't. My point being is that it's a holiday weekend-ish, and there's no one else on the water. I feel like a little kid at the grown-ups table and I need to sit on a phone book. This inflatable is definitely not what I'm used to, but it's still paddling. Would I rather do this than hiking? Absolutely. So I only went about 1.5 miles, and it's really slow, so I've turned around to go up the creek, and I am absolutely crawling. I paddled about 13 miles yesterday, so I'm already feeling a little bit from that. I just don't know if I can do this. I mean, I might as well just walk. It's kind of to the point where it's just not even enjoyable anymore. It's kind of a struggle. Dang it, I miss all the good stuff with my GoPro. A deer just ran across the creek, and I had the camera pointing at me, bitching about how much I don't like this boat. My arms aren't in the right position to paddle. My shoulders hurt. And I'm exhausted trying to battle this really little bit of current. I kind of hate it. I might give it one more chance on a lake to see how it performs with no current, but I think this might be a one and done for me. I can't even imagine having to struggle with one of these things if it was windy. And this thing doesn't handle anything like a kayak. Still trying to go up the creek here. This thing is painfully slow. My arms aren't in the right position to be paddling. It's not even rigid enough to keep my GoPro mount in proper position. Does anybody want to buy an inflatable? I had to pull out of the creek and abandon it at some kind person's yard because I'd rather walk the last mile on bad knees than paddle that thing for another minute. I eventually stopped recording when I was in the inflatable because the profanity got to be a little bit more than I thought I had the talent to edit out. It's always a great day on the water, but some days are better than others, and that's not what I'm really in a big hurry to repeat. One thing I want to mention that I noticed was painfully obvious to me watching the video is that I should not have been using this 210 centimeter paddle with such a wide boat. I use a 210 most of the time because I have a shorter wingspan and a narrow boat. Standard, I mean, most rental places, you're going to find a 220. I should have used a 220 or even pulled the 230 out of the garage for a boat that wide. It certainly would not have enhanced the performance of the boat whatsoever, but it might have made a little bit of an impact in how comfortable it was to paddle. Not something I need to remember to bring in the future because the boat has a happy new owner. I sold it to an older lady that just wanted a little something to get out onto the middle of this tiny lake to get closer to the loons. And that's a perfect use for that boat. I mean, I had to sell it. It wasn't even red. There are some high-end inflatables out there that are upwards of $1,000. I don't think I'm willing to invest that much for the convenience of a portable. But I think my next route is seriously exploring maybe a gently used Oru kayak for those times I can't bring one with. I may have considered that inflatable a debacle, but I'm glad you came with, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my next adventures. See you next time.